Not a great day at the MCG. It's time for the round 13 debrief for the Swans game. I put it off for a little bit, but yeah, we've got to talk about it eventually, don't we? Terrible, terrible loss. Sydney Swans 11-14-80 defeated Richmond 4-12-36 by 44 points. The margin probably actually felt like it was a little bit further than that, to be honest, while watching the game. And you know what? The first quarter, if we sort of break it down quarter by quarter, the first quarter we actually played really well. 3 goals, 4-22. Obviously, you'd rather convert a couple more chances, but you go into quarter time with a nice little lead. We're moving the ball well. We were attacking the contest well. We won clearances. Dion Prestia had about 13 touches in the quarter and kicked one of the goals of the year. Everything seemed to be humming really, really nicely. And then quarter time occurs, and I'm not sure if the Swans had the pep talk of a lifetime from Dean Cox or what the go was, but from that point onwards, we literally could not get near the ball. We went over 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours, without kicking a single goal in quarters 2 and 3, and it took us till very late in the last quarter to get our very next goal for the game, and we end up on 4 goals 12. But look, I suppose straight off the bat, full credit to Sydney for doing their homework on us and getting the job done, but they just completely stifled all of our ball movement. We were just bombing away aimlessly down the line from pretty much the second quarter onwards, which, like I said before, a lot of that often happens because the opposition have set up a certain way and they've taken away what we want to try and do, and it forces us to go down the line to play into their hands. And there's definitely still an element that maybe we weren't trying to be creative enough, we weren't trying to be daring. Tom Brown was probably trying to be a little bit daring. Kane McAuliffe was being a little bit daring. So they were probably the two players that were stood out for me that had positive games for the whole game. But we just lost all drive, all run, all anything, and we're very, very pedestrian-like for the last 3 quarters, which was very, very disappointing. And look, you could tell from Uze's post-match press conference, he was clearly not happy with how that went from the second quarter onwards, and it was something they didn't see coming after how well we played in the first quarter. And, you know, to finish off what was probably a reasonably good month of football for us in terms of being really competitive, being in games and being in with chances to win games, to then end on that type of note was really flat. And you can't help but feel, did some of the guys have one eye on the bye and having some time off, which they're probably a bit fatigued and looking forward to it, no doubt, but they still had a job to do, and they just all ballsed it up tremendously. It was a tough watch, not going to lie. If we have a look at some of the player stats quickly from a Richmond perspective, Taranto led the way with 25 disposals, 4 tackles, 5 clearances. Hopper, 22 disposals, 3 clearances, 1 tackle, and Dion Prestia, 21 disposals, 4 tackles, 6 clearances, and obviously that goal early on. So, look, even though the 3 midfielders still led the way for us, a lot of their possessions were done in the first quarter. Like I said, Prestia had about 13, and Taranto and Hopper were pretty prolific as well. And then for the rest of the game, I think they got tagged at various times, but they just got shut out completely. And that second quarter, at one point, we were losing the clearances like 10-1. We were getting annihilated in the second quarter at the source. And that's on those 3 guys. And whoever else rolls in there, but they were the predominant prime movers for us in the midfield, and we got absolutely smashed. And if you lose by those type of numbers, you're in for a bit of pain, and that's what happened in the second quarter. Sam Banks, 21 disposals, 4 marks, 1 tackle, 1 clearance, 422 metres gained. It was okay from Sam Banks. There was probably a few times where he did initially do the right thing and loop around for a handball, but then didn't use the penetrating kick to finish it off. Like, he kind of ended up running into trouble and then going with an underground handball or a loopy handball. Probably just want to see him back himself a bit more and use that penetrating kick. Luke Traynor, another interesting game from him, 19 disposals, 8 marks, 3 tackles. Spent a bit of time on the wing again. I'm starting to like it. I know that might not sit well with people because a lot of people obviously want to see him as the defender. But when you've got Bolter, Miller, Broad, Vlosten, Brown, Banks, how do you fit Luke Traynor back in there? Or who do you move out and where do you put them? So I actually don't mind Luke Traynor on the wing. I think he's really creative. He's a good mover. And, you know, 19 disposals, and he wasn't there the whole game, I guess. But yeah, if he could turn into like a 25 disposal wingman, I think that could be a really good thing for us. So I think we're going to see it a little bit more often, to be honest. Kane McAuliffe, he was the other one that I thought was one of our best for the day in terms of cracking in for 4 quarters. 19 disposals, 7 marks, 4 tackles, 1 clearance. He only played 65% time on ground, which was the lowest of any of our players, excluding Mansell, who was subbed off, and K-Mac, who came on as sub. So take those guys out, and McAuliffe was dead last for time on ground. So, look, I don't know how much of that's to do with fitness and building up the tank, or how much of that to do is with Prestia coming back into the side. Maybe a combination of the two. But if we can get his time on ground up to 78, 80%, we might have a 25 to 30 disposal midfielder. Tom Brown, he was probably the other standout for me in this game. 17 disposals, 9 marks. That was a real highlight for me. That game just felt like he read the ball really well. Like he was able to work his opponent under the ball. He dropped back into space really well. It was almost a very Nick Vlaston type game from an intercept marking perspective, wasn't it? And he's always one that does try to use the ball well. And if he's prepared to take off those dangerous kicks, I'm all for it. And some will come off, some won't. But yeah, I really liked the 9 marks. I thought that was a really almost mature performance from him. So hopefully we can see more of that in the future. That was really nice. Miller, another solid game down back. Seth Campbell, 2 goals. I know we got one of the goals late. But the big forwards for me, if we're sort of talking about some lowish points, and look, I know that 2 of them are only just kids, but Tom Lynch, Tom Sims, and Jonty Fall, it just didn't work, did it? I mean, we ended up 0 goals, 0 goals, 7 from the key forwards is not a great day out. And I just felt they were largely uncompetitive for too long in the match. The Sydney defenders just had their way with us. They were intercept marking. They were creating 3-on-1s against our key forwards, and we kept kicking it to that 3-on-1, which was quite remarkable in itself. So the whole system was breaking down. And look, I don't know if it was Sydney doing their homework, if it was fatigue, if it was just an off day, or a combination of all those things. But I don't know, for me, that setup just didn't work again today. And if your big forwards aren't making a presence at least, and they're not competing really hard for 4 quarters, then you're going to struggle to get into games, because it takes them out of the game. And then it actually takes all of our small forwards out of the game too, because there's nothing for them to rove or to get to work on, because the Swans kept marking the footy in our defensive 50. So we're taking 6 players of our own team out of the game from a positive impact because of our inability to bring the ball to ground. So that was super frustrating. And look, Jonty should have took that really nice one-handed mark, should have converted that goal. That needs to be 9.9 times out of 10 that goes through. And you just can't help but wonder that how much confidence did the playing group lose when we started to kick those behinds again? Because it's now the second week in a row where we've had extremely inaccurate goal kicking. So 4 goals 12 this week, and it was at 10 goals 17 last week. That's not good areas. It's really disappointing to see those types of numbers. And then we go 5 quarters with only kicking 1 or 2 goals. So yeah, there's a lot to work on, and I know we're still developing, we're still growing. We're going to see games like this, unfortunately, but it doesn't make it any less disappointing to see it unfold, especially when we've been playing so well previously in the lead up to it. Looking at some of the key team stats, inside 50s, we're actually dominating that stat in the first quarter, and hence why we were ahead. But then come the end of the game, we got heavily outweighed there. So 38 to 61, we got smashed. Our efficiency, I don't think, was very good inside 50 either. Clearances, we lost 30 to 39. So we actually probably brought back the number a little bit in the last quarter, but those middle 2 quarters, we got obliterated. There's no other way about it. Turnover marks, we got done by marks quite substantially, 82 to 127. We just kept gifting them easy uncontested marks around the ground. That's a really high marking game. So that Sydney's 2025 average is 83.8. And our average is 86.9. So they were well above both of those averages. And yeah, they were just able to stretch the ground, get guys in the right spots to switch it, and then we were no chance of catching up, and they were able to create scores from there. Tackles inside 50, we had 8 tackles inside 50, they had 20. And again, our tackle inside 50 number probably feels a bit lower because our tools weren't able to bring it to ground and Sydney were just marking everything. So for me, that was very much where the game was won and lost, was our inability to compete in the air up forward. and our inability to win back the clearances from the second quarter onwards. It was a pretty lackluster performance. Like I said, some small green shoots with your Tom Browns, your Kay McCullough, Flute Trainer, players like that had some nice moments in the game. But I really do think we need to address a couple of things after the bye. And the most prominent one for me is the forward setup, which I'll make a separate video on. But my overarching feeling is that we need to have another experienced and mature one. Experienced not by the way of games, but by way of maturity with their body size. They've played a bit more football. We need someone else down there to help out Tom Lynch, because we're just not able to get the job done for long enough with the two youngsters down there. And that's not a slight on them. That's just where we're at in reality with playing the young kids. But that's going to be a big talking point, I think, for us in the second half of the year. But anyway, that is the debrief for the Swans game. Didn't get the 4 points, or struggled to get any points, to be honest. But yeah, we're now at the bye. Let us know what you think in the comments below. What did you make of the game? Who would you give votes to? Who did you like? Who did you not like? Keen to hear all of your thoughts. And we'll be back on Monday night for the live show, 8:30 p.m, to do a mid-season review. And then on Wednesday night, we'll be live to have a look at our round 1 best 22 for 2026. So that is a very tough exercise. So we'll show what teams we've come up with. But until then, we'll see you on Monday night. Go Tigers.